I do want to see him back with the Jets next year. There were some things that he said yesterday when addressing the media about Ulbrich that maybe I don't agree with, and maybe there are reasons why he's saying that. But I do think, knowing that Rodgers wants to be back, if I'm the Jets, I would run it back with him. Not anybody else, but I would bring back Aaron Rodgers next year.
Listen, I appreciate the Jets throwing a Hail Mary when they did with Aaron Rodgers, but the ball has now fallen harmlessly to the turf. And I disagree with you. I don't need Aaron Rodgers next year because he's no longer Aaron Rodgers. He's just a decaying, eroding legend who did all of his greatness somewhere else that, tried his best and I'll try to destroy the guy, but it's over. I mean, it's been a colossal failure. Think about where it started. Super Bowl expectations to people getting fired and the Jets looking for win number 4, hopefully maybe before Thanksgiving.
Right.
So, I mean, you've got to embrace the reality. I think the chemistry is really off with this team. I need to reassert that. It doesn't seem to be a very cohesive unit. I just feel like it's very fractured. And I think that, I would say that that's all of Aaron's fault. But I don't think he's helped it the way that I thought he would, and he's no longer capable of elevating. So I'm ready to move on from Rodgers.
Right, okay, but then let's play it out. Like, we both agree there's going to be a new GM in town.
Yeah, it should be. Well, just as an aside, if Woody goes with President Trump and Christopher stays, I don't know that Christopher fires Joe because Joe was hired by Christopher. So he should be fired. So
let's play out that scenario. Let's say Joe Douglas is back. You want them to do what with Rodgers? Like, we want to just jettison Rodgers and have Joe Douglas pick a new quarterback and a new head coach?
I mean, honestly, I could just fast forward to the end of the game. I don't care who the GM is. It's time to move on from Aaron Rodgers.
Right,
it just is.
I understand that, but I wouldn't want Joe Douglas picking a new quarterback.
Yeah, again, I would agree with that. He hasn't earned that right.
Which would mean even more so to me to bring back Rodgers. But anyway, forget the general manager or head coach thing. Who's going to be your quarterback next year? What's the plan for next season? You want to fire everybody, so it's going to be year one of a new regime. You've got older players here. You've got some young players with talent who are going to be getting paydays soon.
Yes, that's so important.
Okay, so what's the plan? So for me, my plan and why, or somebody say, how can you want Rodgers back after what you've seen? Because the plan would be to win next year with a real head coach and also have an eye on the future, meaning that trying to do what you would have done or should have done these last 2 seasons, build that foundation. I know what Rodgers is at this point in his career. So the ridiculous expectations or Super Bowl aspirations, forget that. But I know I could still win some games with Rodgers, with a good head coach, with the right pieces in place here, maybe with a better attitude and different structure, whatever it may be, while also looking ahead. Like, depending on where the Jets pick in the draft, maybe you draft a quarterback, and Rodgers, he has to take it. Like, he's not running the show anymore, but I still think he's the best quarterback that gives you the best chance to win next year in the short term while also trying to develop the future.
I mean, there's got to be a better option because he doesn't win. He doesn't win.
Well, I mean, who are those options, though? Think about it. And it's not him. He's not the reason why they don't win. I mean, they stink. They can't tackle. They have no head coach. They've tried twice. They failed both times. Robert Saleh ain't it. Ulbrich ain't it. Regardless of what Aaron Rodgers says, I'm not saying Rodgers has been the answer or the savior. Certainly is not.
I know.
But I don't believe he's the problem, and I still believe he can help. And if I'm going into next year with Rodgers under center, with Devontae Adams, with Garrett Wilson, with Paul, I mean, again, we talk about the offensive line. Maybe with an improved offensive line, if a head coach and a GM knew what they were doing to build it the right way, maybe things can improve. But just for the quarterback play alone, BT, look at the league.
I understand that. You got to understand that. Also, there's 2 ways that this needs to be addressed, and I think everybody's got to, figure out how it works for them. But they don't always intersect. There's the emotional response: do you want Rodgers back?
Right.
And then there's the football response: do you want Rodgers back? My emotional response is, I don't want Rodgers back. And my football response is, I don't want Rodgers back. So for me, it actually intersects. Now, listen, I'll leave this slightly ajar. Like, if they hire Belichick and Bill's like, hey, I think I can win. Okay.
Right.
Then
or Gruden, maybe Gruden,
or even Gruden,
option.
to a lesser extent, sure. Fine. But to me, what I would do is, because you raise a very good point, the window has shut in terms of trying to win with a big-moneyed quarterback while some of the other young stars or quote-unquote stars are not making a lot of money. First thing I would do is I would trade Sauce Gardner. I would trade him because I'm not giving him the money that a superstar quarterback's going to command. Let somebody else give that to Sauce. So Sauce can leave.
What do you think you would get for him? Like,
you get some good stuff.
Like what? Are we talking a second-round pick?
You very well might get a first. I mean, you might get a first. He's a corner.
I
Dude, he was
know.
all-pro first 2 years.
I know, but the trade market for these guys, like, anyway, all right.
Well, but think about this. What if the Jets give up for Devontae Adams? The 3, that becomes a 2.
Right.
Devontae Adams, 31 years, 31.
That's fair. That's
so,
fair.
okay, so I would trade Sauce Gardner. I would lock up Garrett Wilson when it's time to do that. I'm building around him, and I start stripping down, and I draft somebody top 10.
Okay,
that's what I do.
Quarterback you're talking about.
A quarterback.
Okay, understood. And I'm not disagreeing with that necessarily. I mean, I don't know about the trade stuff. Like, we'd have to see where they're at, what the value is. But I agree that if the opportunity presents itself, I don't know how aggressive I would go after it, but if the opportunity presents itself to get a quarterback, and we actually said this last year. We were talking about it last year because
we did.
Like, nothing's really changed. Rodgers' age is the same. It's actually, he's going to get a year older, but like, we all knew that eventually they were going to need a new quarterback sooner than later. So for me, I'm with you. If the opportunity presents itself where you could get a quarterback that you believe can be the franchise guy, I'm not reaching for it. I'd still do that with Aaron Rodgers being my quarterback because I think there's a way to thread the needle if done properly. And with the Jets, obviously, it's a massive if. But if you hire the right people, you can maybe win some games next year with Rodgers while also developing the future quarterback. Rodgers will not be here beyond next year no matter what. Like,
True.
That's the end of the line, no matter, probably for him in general, but certainly here with the Jets. So why not take one more stab at trying to win? Because what are your other options, right? We both agree we want a new quarterback here for the Jets, a young quarterback to develop. Both the Jets and Giants, but in this case, the Jets.
Yep.
You're going to throw him to the Wolves again? Like, how would you?
No. I said this yesterday or 2 days ago. I would actually bring in Daniel Jones for a year. I know that sounds insane, but Daniel Jones not drafted by the Jets and Daniel Jones not making big money from the Jets because that's all the Giants' problems, and they've got to rid themselves of him soon, and they will. At least I know Daniel Jones comes in, let him take some hits, let him hold the bag for the kid, and you go from there.
So you just want
that's actually my plan.
You rather have a stopgap quarterback that is less than Aaron Rodgers.
I would rather start the process of getting to the point of winning a Super Bowl, and to me that includes drafting and surrounding that young quarterback with a guy who, you know, is not disillusioned as to who he is. Let me ask you the easiest question in the history of sports radio. Are the Jets winning the Super Bowl next year?
No.
So why are we wasting time with Rodgers?
Because you can still
Any
win some
second
games.
that they waste with Aaron Rodgers next year is really almost unforgivable.
Well,
they're not winning it next year. Let me break everybody's suspense that think that they might.
Right, but Rodgers gives them, I mean, I didn't think they were going to win it this year, but Rodgers gives them a better chance to win and get to the playoffs.
But what does that do?
Oh, I mean,
what does it do?
At least you have some success
well,
and by the way, I'll take it a step further. Not only do I think Rodgers would give them the best chance to win out of the other quarterbacks that are going to be available, those stopgap guys, Tyrod Taylor, Drew Lock, just to name a couple that are here. Like, those are the type of things you're looking at now. Maybe you could go trade for, like, Kirk Cousins, whatever. You're not going to get him, but I wouldn't even want him, like, because you're going to have to pay him too much money. I'd rather just deal with Rodgers. Plus, I like Rodgers developing the next guy. Like, I really believe, like look around. Dude, look at the quarterback play around the league.
I think it's so overrated. C.J. Stroud walked into a situation in Houston. They thought they hired they hired the wrong coach, and then they were basically, absent of any sort of talent. And this year they've actually been pretty good as well. But Stroud last year was phenomenal. I'm done with Rodgers, dude. I think he's
right. I think you just had it with Rodgers.
I have. I think there's nothing else to interpret, and it's not personal. I'm not going to start bagging on the guy. It didn't work. That's why if you rewind this on the free Odyssey app, the first thing I said was the Jets tried for a Hail Mary. And I'm appreciative of that.
Yes.
Because the talent that they had, at least you can justify going for the big swing. But the Hail Mary has now officially harmlessly fallen to the turf.
And to be consistent with your point, you're saying trade Sauce.
Yes.
Clean house.
Soft,
and basically,
not soft.
Soft Gardner, sorry. Basically, you're looking at another 2-3 win season.
I'd probably trade Vera Tucker because I'm not getting he's always hurt. I'm not giving him big money.
So you're okay with punting another season?
Listen, yes, I'm okay with whatever I believe will eventually get to the Jets to the point of getting to a Super Bowl. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
We'll get to the Knicks later, right?
Yeah.
So the Knicks made their big move with Karl Anthony Towns to what? To increase their chances of winning a championship, correct?
Sure.
Why does everybody want Soto in addition to maybe sticking it to the Yankees? But based on what what the Mets did a year ago, the thought is you add this and maybe add one other thing. Now the Mets are in a position to win a World Series. Why do the Yankees have to retain Soto and then add a first or a third baseman to improve their chances to be better than the Dodgers and get to and win the World Series next time? Everything that you do at some point must be moving toward the ultimate goal. 2 years ago, it was with Aaron Rodgers. That ship has sailed. It's over. I'm done.
See, that's where we disagree,
they need
though.
to be done.
Understood, but that's where we disagree. I do believe there's value in building the foundation. It's not just going to be blow it all up, hire another head coach, bring in a rookie quarterback, and hope that this time, that the 18th time that we've done this works. Like, at least if they, in my mind, it doesn't mean it's right, but this is what I would do. I would, first of all, it all starts with hiring a real head coach. But if you have Rodgers with a real head coach and they win some games, maybe get to the playoffs, now that's block one. Then from there, okay, insert the next quarterback behind Rodgers. Maybe you draft him this year. Then you start to build off of that. Obviously, Rodgers is going to be moving on, but you have at least a foundation in place. That's just where we disagree.
And it's a very different fundamental, very stark. It's two completely different directions. Here's the other problem, too. I think Aaron Rodgers has sucked the oxygen out of that building. Everybody defers to him. Everybody tries to play. At first, they tried to placate him. Now, and the players were in awe of him. Now I think the players are like, dude, you're just old, man. You're not as good as we thought. And I don't think that there's that reverence and that there's that connectivity. Like, I think it's Aaron Rodgers going, and now Devontae Adams going to their own little beat, and I think everybody else is broken in 52 other different directions. I got to unify this team. I'm not saying he's a bad guy at all. Right. I think he's a good guy. But I know he's not the player that he was, and I know now that he's not the leader that we thought he and hoped he would be because nobody's following him.
BT and Sal on the Fan. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Tyrone is calling from Newark. What's up, Tyrone?
Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, you right, man. We need to get rid of Aaron Rodgers. Who calling the plays? Everybody on the team who got something to do with the progress of the team and everything. Aaron Rodgers sucks, man. Wow. He is not. He is stopgapping right now. Let's get rid of this man. I'm telling you right now, we'll be 2028. Talking about building. We got to get rid of this guy, man. How many people has he cost a job? Come on, stop this now. Come on, bro, man. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, Rodgers is the problem, Tyrone.
Well, I was going to say, Tyrone, to be fair, I mean, the people that are no longer here, and I feel badly for them on a personal level, they lost their jobs because they weren't good at their jobs.
Right. And Robert Saleh should have never been brought back. I mean, the Jets are such a mess. Like, if they actually listened to me, they'd be in a better spot. They should have fired Saleh before the year. We talked about that. They are the only ones who had to wait 5-6 weeks in. And by the way, when they did do it, it was the wrong time to do it. They got worse. The team quit after they fired Saleh. Those guys on defense, those young players, Saleh was their guy. They let them, the team quit after Saleh was fired on Ulbrich. Watch them play. They don't tackle. I mean, it's the most basic, fundamental thing for a defense. That wouldn't be happening under Saleh. Now, different stuff happened under Saleh, and he should have been fired for other reasons. But once they made that decision, Woody thought it was the right move. It was the wrong time to make that move. Maybe they would have had a chance to be a semblance of a team that could be competing. But once they did that, that was it for those guys on defense. And I think that speaks to the players as well.
Oh, for sure.
But here's the point. Rodgers is not the problem. I understand why, BT,
You don't think he's a problem at all?
I don't. I understand why you and others would say enough of Rodgers. I don't think he's the problem. I think it's everybody else. And I also think, furthermore, the bigger problem was the structure, where you're right. They let Rodgers be the guy. We've talked about it for 3 years or 2 years, whatever it's been, about he can't be the lead dog. He's the quarterback. You need the head coach to be in charge, which plays to the part of all the players looking at him like, what's this guy? He's 41. You ain't got it anymore. Like, you're just no. Yeah, well, if the head coach was there, then it wouldn't be just Rodgers' team and everybody looking to him to be the savior. It's ridiculous. It's a football team. There's no one man who could do that. I still believe in Rodgers being a leader. Certainly not the player that he once was, but I still believe even some of that is in there. I don't think he's the problem.
Listen, there was a time during the season, a couple of weeks back, the Jets had the ball and Aaron Rodgers possessed the ball with a minute or two to go at a chance to win. 0 for 1. 0 for 2, 0 for 3.
Right.
So if you want to say he's not the problem, and I'm going to disagree, again, he's not that he's a bad guy or he's horrendous, right. But he's sure as hell isn't the answer. I look. Here's the other problem too with Rodgers. So it's been offset a little bit because now, Hackett's been who the hell knows what he's doing, and Downing's a little different. Aaron Rodgers is so hell-bent on running his system, right?
Yeah.
Back shoulder throws and all the things he does. And I believe, and I've said this, that it's fairly antiquated, but because it works so well for him, I understand, to be fair, his reluctance to move on from that. If they brought Rodgers back next year, and it's still Hackett and Downing or whatever, or even if it's somebody new, do you think that Rodgers is going to embrace a new system? The answer is no, which means they will still deploy the old system, which, again, will still be, at that point, further antiquated, which means when they draft the quarterback in the top 10, and they will, unless they're idiots, you have a young quarterback running an antiquated system, and then once Rodgers is gone the next year, the whole system will be different.
I would think that's
How does that make any sense to anybody?
Well, it doesn't, but I would think
But that's what they're going to do.
No, well, then they're idiots.
But you got to get rid of Rodgers to remove the temptation of doing that.
Why not have a head coach?
Here's
the thing. Dan Reeves ran an offense that transitioned from Chris Chandler to Mike Vick. So if you can do that, then if Dan Reeves, the late great Dan Reeves, if he can do that, then there should be a head coach that can also play to Aaron Rodgers' skills and develop another quarterback with his skills being a big part of the offense. Like, it shouldn't just be a system quarterback or this or that. And look, there are many different ways to do it. I care about both winning, building a foundation, and also building for the future. I think the best way to win and build for the future is with Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback. I look at the Jets and I say they have a bunch of losers from the top on down. The one thing that I know is Aaron Rodgers is not a loser. Until he comes here.
I was going off. That's what I was going to say.
So is it him or is it everybody else?
Well, listen, the Jets are legend killers. I said that. This is what they do. I thought the first year I was all in, the American flag, the whole deal. All right, gets hurt. I get it. Year 2, revenge tour. You upgrade the roster. We all thought at some point Adams would be here and all these young players. Hasn't worked out. It's not a crime. It's just time to move on.
Anthony's in Harlem. What's up, Ant?
What's up, boys?
Hey, you got it.
Man, come on, dude.
Get off the speaker or whatever. Your line is.
All right, man. I'm off speaker. You got me now?
Yes, but do it please next time because it's every time.
I couldn't agree with you more, Scott. I never agree with you. Listen, you can't get rid of Rodgers.
You got a bad line, dude. I'm sorry. We gotta let you go. And I do appreciate you taking the time to call. Maybe get back to us here, but your line is bad.
That's all the time too. It stinks.
Well, what's going on?
And Anthony's passionate too, so hopefully it works out next time.
And I thought it was speaker, but he said he got off the speaker. But you hear that feedback, we just can't continue with it. I'm sorry.
Clicks.
It's annoying. Let's get one more. And Eric is in Rivervale. What's up, Eric?
Hey, bud.
PT, Sal, how we doing, boys?
Good. What's up, Eric?
What's happening?
You guys are hitting the nail on the head with these points. I mean, I actually agree with both of you, and I think that's ultimately what the big problem is with the Jets is that Aaron Rodgers isn't the problem, but he's also not the solution.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with the Jets is across the board. It's everything, right? I mean, we took a gamble on Rodgers. That's obviously failed. Now they're losing, so all of the players, the Sauce Gardners, the Garrett Wilsons, the Breece Halls, all get sick and tired of the losing. Right? So the same old Jets turn up, and now you've got these players that are just completely and utterly done, and they just show up every week and look worse. It's absolutely unreal. So to me, I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I feel like in the league, 32 teams, the Jets have probably the worst situation in all of football. Because you don't have a solution really anywhere. What is it? I mean, Aaron Rodgers to me.
Giants are close,
well,
man.
the Giants at least it's black and white though with the Giants, right? Like there's a path. With the Jets, it's like, do we blow it all up? To me, as a fan, that sounds miserable. But to be honest, I don't know what the other choice is, right? Like, we could get a haul for Sauce Gardner, we could get a haul for Wilson, but this is a rebuilding process that's going to take years. And Sal, you've been beating this drum forever. That it starts at the top. They need leaders. And to me, Aaron Rodgers is one. I completely agree with you too, BT, that he's taken the air out of the room because he's the legend that he is. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what the solution is, but getting rid of him doesn't seem to solve any problems either. Because then who's our quarterback?
Right.
Like, I don't even know. So to me,
but not even Eric, and great call there, but not even who's the quarterback. It's how are you going to win games next year? And also, how are you going to put yourself in a position to finally develop an organization the right way, specifically the quarterback, but just build the foundation. I think he brings up a great point in that the losing has infiltrated that team, which has made things go completely south when they should be better. And my hope would be that a real head coach, the right head coach, would prevent that from happening.
I'm ripping off the Band-Aid. I'm starting over. I'm done with this. That's it.
I understand why. I just think that Rodgers, like he brought up the Giants as an example. You could look at the way the Giants tried to do it with Daniel Jones and try to build it before getting the next guy that they knew would be the franchise quarterback. Here we are 3 years later, whatever it may be. But that's kind of what I'm looking at next year as. The new regime comes in, just tries to build 1 year with Rodgers while knowing that he's going to be out the door. Atlanta did with Matt Ryan in his last year with Arthur Smith. It has happened before. BT and Sal on the Fan will continue with your calls.